Well, it's a slow evolution. I mean, I think I stopped showing the monochromes at the Lisson in 1997 or 8 or something, and decided that I really wanted to return to the gesture and drawing and try and make the gesture and drawing work together. It's kind of a modernist preoccupation. But my thoughts were that if I painted on formica, which is the material that these are painted on, plastic formica, then I was starting with a monochrome. And that I could then sort of work backwards to the sketches and things and drawings and doodles and things that I've been doing. I'm sort of cheapening them by saying they're doodles. They're not. They're actually attempts at some kind of breaking through that monochrome. And the way through the monochrome, as I saw it, this very kind of authoritarian surface, was back to drawing. And I just thought, well, I don't want to be 65 and still painting sort of one-coloured surfaces. I want to be trying everything else out, and I want to use this legacy that all artists are left with, the past 50, 100 years, whatever, painting. I want to put all that vocabulary into these works.
I was going to say, Could you spell out the steps, if it isn't too crude or reductive, from having that realisation I could make this bigger to the emergence of that particular format?
Yeah. When I just made a series of small drawings and things because I had one or two things going on in my life which I wanted to try and reflect. It was a conscious effort, and it wasn't a great period in my life. And it's called Crying Shame, this painting. And I realised that if I were to use these kind of marks in this painting, it wouldn't work because of the hole, the hole. So I had to play around and see what would work, and these marks work. They're fairly crude, and they don't have any of the wonderful lightness and rhythm that de Kooning has. They really don't. But I can see what you're getting at.
What would you call them then in relation to? You say it's like a painter and decorator doing it. It's kind of
it's like somebody cleaning a brush on the surface, but somebody who knows how to paint. Okay, so those two elements. The de Kooning wasn't that.
And it's sheer in a sort of unlikely way. The whole shape. One can't believe that paint ever went in that black space.
It did. It did.
So you're saying that they all relate to each other. They're different ways of organising the black bit and the...
Well, you know how it is. One painting suggests another.
They all have a lovely internal light that perhaps is most evident in this one, because it seems so as if almost the material itself is almost luminous, but it's actually an effect of the streaky white stuff coming through that purple. And then here you've got more of a task to make what could have been this rather greasy stuff. It actually has some kind of feeling of light coming out from inside it.
Oh, blimey. It's all getting a bit religious.
What are you conscious of when you're setting out to something? Are you conscious of, well, the format is going to be a vertical one, there's going to be an illusion of a hole, there's going to be some marks, and there's going to be a range of colours. Or I don't know what the range is yet, but there will be a range, there'll be a limit to it.
And also added to that, I think all those things, but also added to
So what is evident is your conscious agenda in a way.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and of course there's the that wonderful thing, retrospect. I can think about it later and think, maybe that I was thinking about this, that, and the other. I mean, with that one, I do know that when I make paintings that I want an intensity, whatever that might be. I really do. I want an intensity. I want some kind of physical feeling, from myself.
Do you think that intensity comes from...
And it's not just about more paint equals more feeling. I don't mean, sort of lathering up, just piling it on. It's something else, isn't it? And I've never heard anybody able to explain really. Perhaps you can. No pressure. But I've never ever heard anybody really explain what intensity is in that way. But,
you raised two issues, intensity and what is it? I think intensity is something that painters are often preoccupied with, because unlike other forms that are that people find fascinating at the moment, where something is broken up a lot. Paintings are often about something being very concentrated, simply because, by definition, a painting sort of has to have these edges. A few things need to be in place for it to even be a painting. So intensity is often an issue with them.
But you're talking about a formal thing, aren't you?
I think so. Yeah, 'cause it's pretty formal. It's a pretty formal thing to do, a painting. Right? I would say there's a visual intensity that a painter might expect to want to achieve in order for any other contents to be meaningful. There's got to be some kind of visual success for those other layers of meaning to have to do anything at all.
Yeah.
So whatever other concerns there might be, it's got to be some visual believability impact to begin with. And perhaps that impact is often to do with every part of what you're seeing having some kind of believable relationship to every other part. I'm looking around because I'm aware that, I keep mentioning de Kooning, but of course that's a very un-de Kooning way of organising strokes, and over there even more so.
Yeah.
And that one is tipped a bit with those two paintings as to concerns you have with layering.
Yeah.
And, I noticed earlier that, I'm sure this is true of all of them, but certainly in that one you're seeing a certain configuration in the middle and then something else around the side where something's been wiped away and then the joined lines go across those wipings. So that what appears to be a free sort of calligraphic sign done in one go is actually made up of different layers meeting on a plane.
Yeah. I think, like all these paintings, they're kind of really just covering up the stakes the whole time.
Yeah.
And that one's a good example of it. It's about not being satisfied, about painting over, obfuscation, erasure. It's about wanting to rescue something. And that point of rescue for me is very important because it's not something that can be preempted, but it actually worked in that painting. It's called Braided Vines Fall. It's like you go in the studio and you have all these grand ideas, as I mentioned earlier, and you push the paint around until something happens and you get the green light, don't you? And you just think, well, hang on, something's going on here. And you have that intuition and you have that experience to tell you that it's worth pursuing. And I thought I'd done something really good on that painting, and it turned out that I wasn't happy with it. And so, you just throw everything to the wall and you try something new, and it came off. But I find that that's my best painting, the stuff that I pull back right at the last minute. And these are all actually not far from that.
I do these works with my wife, and I always say, painting's really about feeling. And she's always rolls her eyes and says, well, when you say that, I say experience. It's about the experience of the painter, or the experience of the artist, because they've done certain things, and they know how there can be clarity and how there can be intensity, that word that we use. And that comes from having done it to some extent before.
Yeah.
And then feeling is anyone's guess. What does that mean?
Of course.
And I think, well, there's a feeling in the way that you've made those marks sort of have a right balance with each other, and how you've made, there's a sensitive feeling to the way that you make the whole work. So,
well, I think intuition and experience are the two things that I draw on. And I think that's probably true of most. Intuition and experience. Feeling is an unknown. I don't know about that.
Well,
I don't know if they never come from the heart, they come from the head, really. How to make them work.
Nirvana is a lovely note to end on.
Yes, their anniversary.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Quite natural. It's lovely the way you post it along.
Well, I think the paintings are their own.
Well, I know, but we can't just say that and then wander off. But it was great. Thanks for being.